What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the 5 worst things about the Miata. So first of all, I want to give a quick shout out to my good friend and roommate, Eric Jergs. He's helping me film behind the camera today, so go ahead and show him some love on Instagram. He's the one that owns the blue Turbo EK hatch that you might have seen in some of the other videos on the channel. Alright, so this first one is obvious, but we gotta talk about it. It's gonna be the lack of space. Alright, now this normally isn't gonna be too much of an issue, but where you may run into problems is if you already have some things in your car and then you're trying to take a passenger, or if you're trying to transport a large item. I run into this problem a lot in my car because of the hard top. If you have a soft top, this is gonna be a lot easier for you. You can just put that top down and it's gonna make it a lot easier. You don't have to deal with the roof being in the way. It's going to make it a lot easier to transport those larger items. So the trunk on the Miata is actually not too bad in my opinion for a small car. Now it is pretty small because the car itself is so small, but I've done multiple grocery runs, doing like a full grocery run, and I'm able to fit everything in the trunk without an issue. We've also done road trips in the cars and I've been able to fit all my bags in the trunk without issue. One of the things that I do not like doing, just me personally, I don't like to have things inside the car with me just because of how small it is already. I just don't like having those other things in here with me, so I try and get everything in the trunk whenever possible. So taking trips in the Miata with a passenger could be very challenging when you have both of y'all's luggage. A couple of ways around this could be getting the trunk mounted luggage rack. That could help free up some space for you. So some other remedies to this lack of space are to make sure to use the shelf behind your seats. This is a great place to store items. This area is large enough to fit a backpack pretty easily or a few grocery bags. Another thing you can do, and do this at your own discretion, is remove the spare tire from the trunk. This is going to free up some space in the trunk where you can get more things in there, but obviously you'll be without a spare tire then. So a few other things you can do inside the car to give you some more space. Our taller people will remove foam from the seat. This is called the foamectomy. This will allow you to sit lower, giving you more headroom. Another thing you can do is to remove the armrests in the door panels. This will give you more space on the sides. I personally, I'm a smaller person, so I don't have a problem with this, and I actually like having the armrest here to rest my arm on. Alright, now while we're inside, we're going to move on to point number 2, which is going to be the lack of comfort or options in the car. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing. The Miata is a fantastic driver's car. It has just everything you need to drive the car, no extra assists, but some things you may miss from a normal car are things like power mirrors, power windows. Now some Miatas do come with these options. Other things you're not going to have like you have in a normal car are things like Bluetooth, heated or cooled seats, power adjustable seats. Steering wheel does not have any adjustment like you'd find in a normal car. No up and down, no tilt, nothing like that. What you see is what you get. Now there are solutions to these problems as well. You can always upgrade your radio and get Bluetooth connectivity. Depending on the options of your car, it may have also come with power steering, air conditioning, and power mirrors and power windows, which are nice to have. You might also have the option of the rear defroster in the hardtop and the soft top. Like I said, I really like how fun the Miata is to drive without any driver assist. There's no traction control, any of that. It's literally just the engine, you, a steering wheel, and a shifter, and that makes the car really fun to drive, but do keep in mind that you may be without some of these comforts. Alright, for these next 3, we're gonna have to hit the road. Alright, while we're filming up, this is a good time to talk about number 3, and that's going to be smell. Alright, now one thing that I've noticed really bad in my car, and I've heard a few other Miata owners mention this as well, is the ability to smell pretty much anything in the car. Oil, gas, exhaust, coolant. I can smell all of these occasionally in my car. Now this is definitely dependent on the condition that your particular car is in. Some cars might burn more oil than others or leak more fluids than others. Also, the condition of your seals on the car are going to help in sealing those odors out. So this is an older car, and that might be a reason why they have a tendency to be able to smell these types of things. Any other mods you might have done to the car could play into this as well, like your exhaust, if you've removed the catalytic converter, installed a header, if you have some leaky lines, a leaky heater core. That's actually one of the problems that I have with my car that I need to address soon when I go over the whole interior, is the heater core leaks, and you can smell coolant from time to time, especially when the car heats up. Also, the fact that the Miata is a lightweight car and there's really not a whole lot to it, especially in terms of NVH, the noise, vibration, and harshness, like the dampening materials that are supposed to help with these sorts of things. So definitely this is something to keep in mind if you're going to get a Miata. You may be smelling some of the parts of the car from time to time. So while we're on the topic of NVH, like I said, the Miata is a lightweight car. There's not a whole lot to it. So number 4, this is going to be noise. You're probably going to get a lot of road noise when you're driving the car. Also, the lack of a real roof plays into this. Now, I've heard that the hardtop is slightly quieter than soft top, but you're still going to be getting a lot of road noise either way. Hopefully you can hear this. We're rolling down the street right now at about 60 miles per hour, and I just hope you can tell how loud it is in here and how loud I'm having to talk. You're gonna have to yell at your passenger if you want to have a conversation with them. Also, your tires can play into the noise. When I had 200 treadwear tires on the car, as they became worn out, they became extremely noisy. The car literally sounded like a 4x4 Jeep or a truck with big mud tires on it. So definitely pay attention to your tire choice if noise is going to be a concern to you. Now, a few things you can do to help combat the noise is pay attention to your tire choice and any other modifications you may do, like the exhaust. You can also install a dampening material like Dynamat. You can line the door panels with it. You can pull up the carpet and go underneath the carpet with it. You can also put this in the trunk, and that should help with some of the noise. You're going to want to make sure your top seals and weather stripping is in good shape. If it is not, you're going to have a bad time anytime it rains. And even if they are okay, you might have the occasional drip anytime you get a heavy downpour. After all, the car does not have a real roof. Alright, now this last one is going to be the ride. Now, I asked a few of my friends for their opinions on their worst things about the Miata or the most annoying things to them, and this one right here was mentioned by every single one. And it is important to note that all of the cars that they had experience riding in were lowered on coilovers. And this is another one of those things that's going to be dependent on the particular car, the particular modifications to that car. But like I said, the Miata is a small, lightweight car, so you are going to have a tendency to get tossed around over bumps and things like that, especially at speed, like on the highway. So your particular set of suspension and supporting modifications, like any chassis bracing or things like that, is all going to play into the way that the car rides. Now, for the most part, the Miata isn't too bad of a riding car, but like I said, you're going to run into some issues if you're going over big bumps and things like that. You may get tossed around a bit as it is a light car. And even on the stock setup, the Miata isn't the best riding of cars. It's not the most comfortable in my opinion. I would honestly rather be on the coilovers. I think they ride smoother most of the time. And talking about your specific suspension choice, just to compare and contrast between the cars that we have experience with, my car is on Megan Racing coilovers. My roommate Cole has Raceland coilovers. Now, initially the Racelands seemed okay. They're a bit softer than my setup, so it might seem more comfortable at first, but they do have a tendency to bounce a lot more over bumps, and that is one of his main complaints with it. So when you're choosing your suspension setup, make sure you go with a quality set of coilovers or shocks and springs. Also, some of the chassis bracing that's available for the car, like the roll bar or the frog arms or frame rail reinforcements, these things are said to help with the ride because they strengthen the chassis, making the suspension do its job better. Like with many things on the car, keeping the car maintained is going to help the ride dramatically. So you're going to want to make sure that your bearings, any bushings, ball joints, things like that are taken care of and in good shape. Those will all improve the ride quality. So we all know the Miata is not the fastest car, so I would focus most of my efforts into trying to improve the suspension and ride quality and just take it on some fun, curvy roads, and that's where you're going to have the most amount of fun with this car. That's the issue you run into. Your passenger's got to hold your things. Thank you. You too. Alright, so we got a little bonus for you guys. One of my friends mentioned that her least favorite thing about the Miata was it had the world's worst cup holders.
They don't do too bad.
I don't know if I completely agree with this one. I've never had any real problems with them. They are kind of small and shallow, and you are going to run into the issue of now that we have two cups here, it's kind of hard to shift gears with the cups in the way. But I've never had an issue with it. It holds my big Yeti cup, and I can rip this car around, and it's never spilled or anything like that, so I don't think they're too bad. Alright, so that is going to do it for my 5 worst things about the Miata. I hope this video was helpful to you. Hope you learned something from it. This wasn't meant to dog on the Miata in any way, but it is worth knowing these things before you go in with the car. Like I said, the Miata is a super fun car to own and drive, and these are just some things you want to keep in mind if you're going to get one. But that is going to do it for me on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have an awesome week, and we will see you in the next one.